Hey guys, I just want to say today has been a crazy day. I have been trying to pack and sleep in a little bit and just trying to put my thoughts down on paper, but also I was fooling around on this whole Facebook Live and singing Baby Shark, which is my absolute all-time favorite camp song from when I was a kid, and I was having way too much fun with it and trying to get the whole energy down, but oh my goodness gracious, absolutely like cracking up. However, this actually leads me into tonight's 30 Days of Wisdom on my second day, which is 9/2/2018, and today is going to be actually a little bit longer, which I planned it that way because I'm flying to Michigan this week and I'm going to be absolutely busy, crazy busy, because I'm undergoing some testing and stuff like that, but that's going to be coming more later, and I'm going to have to be playing some catch up, but you'll end up getting all 30 days this month with this 30 Days of Wisdom challenge to myself, and I'm going to fill you guys in, of course, and stuff, but this whole Baby Shark actually plays right into one of my stories I'm going to share with you tonight, which is going to be a little heart-to-heart moment with you. So with that, where to begin, and just jump right in. So growing up, it was mostly just my sister and I, and we moved around a lot growing up until my parents retired out of the military after serving 20 years proudly with the United States Army, and we literally have moved everywhere. My favorite place was, of course, Europe, but I have lived in, of course, Japan and all over the United States. But with that, my sister, of course, she's older than me by 4.5 years, and we're polar opposites. And in this case, the magnets are far away, and in my life, it's much calmer without her being around every day and without that close bond, and because we're so different, because she chose to live her life completely different than I did. That's great, and I'm okay with that. And we don't have that close bond most families have, and in my mind, she's the supreme chaos coordinator, and my dad is known for his tantrums, and I just steer clear of all the negative Nancys in my life, and everybody knows that. And I'll share more about why I don't have that close family bond with my parents anymore. And it has a lot to do with everything, but I just choose to stay clear, and it has to do with being independent and taught how to be independent so young, and I've had to literally grow up so fast. But a lot of people, if you knew me, and a lot of people know me, I think on one of my Facebook pages I have 3,000 friends, and the other one I have 2,800 friends. Yes, I've met most of these people in my life, and a lot of people are acquaintances, but because I do so much around the country, I speak out about cancer advocacy and a lot of different topics. It's one of those that if I get the chance to meet you on the street, a lot of people know that I was once very active before my cancer shattered my world. When I was 18, I was a long-distance runner and played competitive soccer, and I worked 2 full-time jobs to put myself through college and earned my master's degree. And yes, I say earned. Every penny went to college. I didn't have my parents pay for my college at all. I did have student loans, and I paid them off. I also went to school on scholarship, $140,000, because college is a privilege. It's not a right. We think that it should be given to us for free, but it should not. If you want an education, I think you should have 12 years of an education, but college, if you want it, you should have to hustle and move your muscles, and I think you should have to be able to work for it, because if you want it, then you should have to fight for what you believe in. And I did that while still receiving chemo and radiation treatments. And where am I going with all this? And sometimes when you are lost, you are just not sure where to begin. Sometimes you just have to jump in. You're just going to get wet anyways. So if you're going to put your toe in and take baby steps in life, you're going to get wet regardless. So I'm just one of those that I go ahead and just dive right in and face my fear, because what's the worst that can happen? You're going to get eaten by a shark? Ha! It's not going to happen in my world, because in my life, I have learned that being hopeful, I tend to live my life more fearless. So here's where I told you I'm going to have the heart-to-heart with you. I have reached out to a close group of friends, and they know this story closely, because I've talked to them in depth over the last I'd say 4 or 5 months, and they know this story because they know that it's working its way through the justice system, and they know this. And so grab the tissues, you're gonna need it. Sit back and hear what this personal hell has been like for me the last few months, because I'm finally ready to let you in, let the world in. Yes, we are going to be stepping away from cancer tonight, just for tonight. The story needs to be told. I've changed all the names and everything, because I've admitted them to protect the case that is pending in the court system, due to sentencing, because sentencing is actually upcoming. It is a legal case, and the people that are involved are finally where they need to be if they're awaiting sentencing. They were found guilty. But here's what led to them being found guilty for their crime. I was a victim of a violent sexual assault. And yes, my hair is down tonight, and I actually love it. I don't wear my hair down very often because of everything I'm going through, but I speak out about cancer a lot. And back in March, I was asked to go to a gala and speak out about my cancer story and share my experience, and I was so excited, and I was living on that high. And that Wednesday, March 7th, after the gala, I attended. I don't even know how to put it into words, but I was invited to go out with some friends, and I never go out during the week because I was so focused on my career and getting up in the morning, and I was so driven that I decided I would go out for a couple hours that night, something out of the norm. But I'm not a drinker. I choose not to drink. I've been sober in that aspect because of everything I'm going through. But since everybody was drinking that night, I decided to take it upon myself to be the designated driver. Not a bad thing when it comes to making sure people get home safely. I was taught to be the designated driver when, people are drinking, and especially, if I choose my friends wisely. However, the friends I was out with decided to bring their roommate along, and I had never met him. And I didn't know him at all. I had not even met the guy before, never heard of him, didn't even know they had a roommate. I'd never even been to their house. I have always met them at school. I've always met them, out in public, because I just don't go to people's houses. So all I knew about him was his first name and where he worked or what he did for a living. And not smart, and yes, it was a little reckless on my part. I should have, gone more in depth than that. But still, I trusted my friends, or who I thought were my friends at the time. My friends made it into the house once we got back to the house that they lived in. It was dark. It was about 10 o'clock or so. They decided to have one more beer and go out to the back porch and have more conversation. Their roommate, who I didn't know had other ideas, and forced me into his bedroom and proceeded to kiss me. I told him to stop, and I begged him to let me go, and that he was drunk and this was not a good idea. He then became more forceful, and yes, this may be graphic for some people. If you don't want to hear any more of this, I suggest you turn off this live video. However, I think you need to hear the details because this is really important, protecting women out there, to know what people are going through. And rape victims do not usually come forward, and they're not usually forthcoming with details, and I think this is really important because there's a part in this that I want to share. So I told him that this was not a good idea. So he continued to be forceful, and he took my clothes off. In fact, he ripped them. And as I was resisting him, I told him that I was on my period and I didn't want to do this. He continued and said he didn't care, and he told me he was going to do it anyway. When he couldn't get aroused enough, he then forced me to give him oral sex and violated me in so many ways. It brought me back to being 15 all over again and feeling so defeated, ashamed, and embarrassed, and so dirty. At this point, when it brought me back to being 15 again, I had been violated and a victim of a sexual assault before by a law enforcement officer when I was a police explorer. And that police explorer advisor had served time in prison and is now living in prison again because he violated the terms of his parole. He held me at his house from about 10 that night until about 3 the next morning of a Thursday by holding my arms and pinning me down. I was finally able to get away as I have a safe word with all of my friends so that they know when I need my help and where I'm at. They're able to locate me. And this is why I'm telling you the details, because women out there, if you are single or even when you're out with your friends, have a safe word. I'm telling you this because if I didn't have a safe word with my friends and I was in this scenario, things could have gone so differently and I might not be here. So I happened to get a few text messages that night, and I wasn't in a position to respond in a way like to say, hey, what's up, that kind of thing. So while he was drifting off to sleep and I was able to move away from under him, I looked at my phone, and the first person I came to, whoever that person was, I just texted them my safe word. They helped me get away by calling the authorities just to let them know, hey, Allie's at this house or at this location, but I was able to leave on my own accord and drive away. I was able to get to the ER, after I saved all my clothes from that night. I drove directly there. Yes, I had clothes in my car, so I was able to change out of the clothes when I got to the ER and put on, a different set of clothes that I had. Yes, it was my favorite pink shirt that I was wearing that night and some PJ pants. Because, I was only meeting my friends at the restaurant, to have an appetizer and a sweet tea. And of course my underwear, but I knew that I couldn't wash them, nor could I think about ever wearing them again without thinking about what had just happened to me. I reported the incident to the triage nurse, and they put me in a confidential status room, and, they called the authorities to come to the ER to take my statement written and recorded. I felt so humiliated to be telling my account of what happened to 3 male officers of the law, as I had already had no faith in the justice system or law enforcement because I was violated by one of their own. I felt so uncomfortable being in that room alone with them that I just didn't want to be touched or photographed or anything. I ended up having the rape kit done and a DNA test along with a pregnancy test and blood work. And when the blood work came back, that I had the date rape drug in my system, and the detectives and then the deputies who collected all the evidence photographed me from every angle and asked me a million humiliating questions. I was so sick with worry and anxiousness and guilt. It was such an awful feeling. I was like, how did I get the date rape drug in my system? I only had gotten up once after I had paid my bill to go to the bathroom, and I came back from the bathroom to pick up my, my receipt.